I have a huge heart for the mortgage industry, which correlates directly to the real estate industry, which for us in media correlates directly into the idea of storytelling around not only why are these industries so important, but what is the essence of these industries? It's helping accomplish the American dream of homeownership, a place you're going to build memories and communities and raise your family. And then complementary to that, build wealth, financial stability, tax advantages. You put all that together, you need food, you need water, you need shelter. Like, it is such an important component of livelihoods individually for us and our families, but as communities and building what I believe is the American dream.
Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to, well, somebody super special in my life, and I'm going to know that after we're done today, he's going to find a special place in your life. You know, I love to sometimes rub the crystal ball of understanding what a podcast can be about. Let me suggest today's the one that you're going to want to hit rewind again. I'm wickedly confident that today we're going to explore stories and inspirations that are going to inspire you, I bet, to show up differently later after listening. And that sure is what happened for me in life. I met Craig Sewing years ago, gosh, right before the early COVID beginnings, before it began, under the spirit of media. And Craig was reaching out to start a brand new television show airing on CNBC back then. And the show that Craig was crafting was called Financing the American Dream, the first of its kind ever to air on national television. And follow this. This is a show all about real estate, lifestyle, and culture. But here's where unusual happens. It's not through the eyes of a realtor. No, it's through the eyes of a lender. You know, the visions that we don't often hear through or from. And, well, Craig thought it'd be a cool, look, I'm getting goose pimples literally everywhere. Why? Because the show was wickedly successful. Not only did CNBC fall in love with the product, but we were very quickly brought into Bloomberg Television, Fox Business, NBC networks, ABC networks. I don't think there was a channel you couldn't tune into and find our show. And that's what dreamers do. Bring dreams to life. And that, for me, is how I met Craig. And I knew it'd be so valuable for you to meet Craig. For those of you who don't know him yet, he is the founder, the CEO of Ignite Now Media, the visionary, the dreamer, the creator of the American Dream TV. And you ready for this? What do dreamers do? Did you say they go out and win 18 Tellys, 2 Emmy nominations? And as we explore today, we're going to discover, how does a dreamer that starts up of a national television show airing everywhere you've got electricity and cable TV, and all of a sudden, back then when we started, there were 5 of us that were going to be aired nationally that created this show. And today, how do we get to 5 years later and you get over 1,200 hosts throughout the nation sharing their community stories, the positive news about what makes where they live special? And today, that's who we're meeting. We're meeting a dreamer. We're meeting a believer of the dreams he creates, and what he creates is platforms for others to be the star of who they are in life. And he inspires us consistently to believe differently and invites us to connect through media as the platform to do it. Everybody, welcome. This is Craig Sewing.
What an introduction. Hey, Scott. Hey, audience. Good to be here with you guys. It should be fun.
Oh, it was going to be so much fun because, you know, as I shared in the opening, everybody, I got the pleasure of meeting Craig through the invitation of media. And it was really early on. We were taking on so many changes. And Craig, you have produced, well, you in fact have produced the largest production company producing more real estate content than any cable network TV. I think HGTV, Discovery, all of the big brands combined are not equaling the content that Ignite Now Media and the American Dream TV produce throughout our nation. Is that right?
We are a content machine. Yeah. Well, the thing is like a lot of those networks, what they do is they create a show or 2 or 3, and they put it out there. What we do that's very different is we create 100 shows The show in LA is different from the show in Dallas, is different from the show in Boise, Idaho. So in each market, we design a unique show off of a repeatable model, and we integrate the professionals of those marketplaces who are truly experts of those markets. Scott, you're amazing in LA, Palm Springs, and all of California. And I know that you have kind of a global recognition for what you do. But as we talk about things like real estate and housing, there's no better expert than the local, right? So each market, we choose a cast of realtors and finance professionals to be the voice of the real estate, the lifestyle, and the culture. So when you kind of put that all together, yeah, we really do create more content than probably anyone in the history of real estate times a bunch. It's because we're creating more than one show. And then, of course, that show can be, in this world, divided up and repurposed in the content world, the social media world, and that's where a lot of the viewership can happen. So it's a very robust content strategy as well as a distribution strategy where people can see it.
Well, absolutely, Craig. And what I love is I kind of have spoken of the today story. And today is a different level of magnificent that you've invited and created. But Craig, please, I'd love to explore a little bit earlier. As you were just stepping in, if I'm correct, when you left school or started your career life, wasn't it at MTV originally? Weren't you kind of started your footprint originally in some form of media in New York?
Well, by left school is a very polite way to say they didn't want me anymore. Yeah, I am a proverbial college dropout, but I had an opportunity to intern at MTV back in 2001. Back when they actually used to still play music. And, I was from Missouri. I live in San Diego now. But being from Missouri, went to an elementary school right up the street, a high school right up the street, went to the University of Missouri. I was a Midwest kid. And I had this very unique opportunity to apply to work at MTV. And I got accepted. And what a cool thing to do, to be thrown into this New York City, which in itself, regardless of MTV, was a great experience for me to just be in that big city life, which I absolutely love, and working for MTV and really developing a passion around things like media and storytelling and shows and things like that. And this is back when there were no podcasts or there wasn't even social media at that time, but I really loved production and storytelling. And it kind of was the start of a path that combined with falling into real estate and mortgage in 2001, 2002. Eventually, these worlds just kind of came together, but all of it, at the seed of it all, is the entrepreneurial spirit. There's been no manual. It's just been putting one foot in front of the other, kind of chasing a passion. And here we are today, 20-something years later. It really feels like yesterday, though, to be honest with you. I mean, MTV feels like it was yesterday. I was working on TRL with Carson Daly, if you remember that show, Total Request Live. It was a really cool experience. But yeah, that was the inception of it all.
Isn't that something? And Craig, it does go by quickly. That's, the goose pimples came back again as you were sharing that story. Why? Because we all start somewhere. And I love that you found a way to connect passion. And I don't think always in life it's easy for everybody to do that. And sometimes in life, Craig, I think some of us just show up and just repeat things even though they don't fit.
Yeah.
And what I love about you is that you embrace something different. I already know that about you. And I know that when things don't fit any longer, you remove them. You're very powerful to make a decision quickly that takes and leads to actions. And there was another one, and I know this because there's more history than just the MTV, because who goes from working on production to MTV to a mortgage company? Well, Craig did. And of course you do. Doesn't everybody? I mean, hello. And you didn't just come over to a mortgage company. No, sirree. You came in there and then you did something with it. Boldly, Craig, just like you often love to do. It's that entrepreneurial you. Craig, what happened? How did you pop into real estate?
I know that you take a lot of pride in adding value to your audience, and you really just made a really good observation that I think is something that anyone aspiring for anything can take note of. You have to be able to maneuver, right? I mean, the world keeps changing. The market keeps moving. In this history that we're talking about, there's been multiple recessions. There's been the 2008 market crash. There's been this thing called COVID. You have to be nimble, and it's part of and nobody likes change, right? Like we as humans, we don't like change. Coca-Cola did that study years ago. Everybody wanted this new Coke. They released it to market, and it was an utter failure because people didn't want to change. So change is something you actually have to get really comfortable with. And the hardest part to change, like when something's forced upon you, I think it actually makes it a little bit easier because like I don't have a choice. When things are going well, change is even tougher, but change is a part of the equation. And right now we are all faced with this thing called artificial intelligence. And I hope everybody is eyes wide open to the change it's about to bring and paying attention, because it really, I think a key ingredient to our success is being 10 and 2, but pushing on the gas. There's never been a cruise control moment of any of this. And that gets back to what you're saying is when something doesn't fit, you got to move, you got to adjust, and you got to fail forward often. But your question was, how did it all start?
Yeah, how did you move over, Craig? I think all of us that found our way of where we're at in life now, maybe in real estate for myself, I didn't wake up thinking I was going to do mortgages, do other things. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
Her name is Peaches for me, and it was an elevator ride. Craig, how did you move over media into real estate, into mortgages of real estate?
It's really kind of fascinating. So that whole MTV thing happened. I came back to Missouri. I was not wanted at the University of Missouri anymore. And you want to talk about parents being absolutely terrified about what was happening with their son at 21 years old. I had no direction whatsoever. I was partying and I wasn't getting good grades, and I had no direction. But I had a lot of energy, and I'm delusionally passionate. I just need to apply that to something. And so at that moment, I needed a job. I was broke, dead broke. And I opened up the Yellow Pages, true story. There was no LinkedIn or Monster.com or Indeed or whatever these different resources are. I opened up a Yellow Pages, and there was a ad for a telemarketer. And I went and I interviewed to be a telemarketer to make phone calls for this mortgage company. I didn't even know what a mortgage was. And I didn't make one call. They said, hey, look, we have this job. You seem like you could do it. You want to be an assistant loan officer to this guy who's doing pretty well. Now, how the mortgage industry was those days is crazy. Crazy.
Absolutely. The boom.
And I was 21 years old. So throw a 21-year-old into a crazy environment like that and say, here's a phone, figure it out. And quickly we did well. And I fell in love with it, Scott. Like I loved what that industry was. I loved the hustle. I loved the competitive nature of it. I loved helping people finance or refinance their home. Like I really fell in love. I mean, that mortgage industry saved this kid. And I reflect on it so favorably because in that experience, I made a good income. In hindsight, probably more money than a 21-year-old deserves to make, but I did. And that certainly helped on the broke side of things. But I just got better at it. And eventually I became my own loan officer. And then I had people underneath me. And then they wanted to open a branch in San Diego. And I was like, hey, let's get out of Missouri. Let's go to San Diego. And then I opened up my own branch, a net branch at the time. And I became the number one branch of Benchmark Mortgage, which is out of Dallas, Texas. And that entrepreneurial spirit took me into mortgage. But, I got to tell you, that industry is really a fascinating industry. I believe it's the unsung hero of the real estate transaction. That's why we created the show, Financing the American Dream. It's like, I always say that, like, wouldn't it be cool if, Scott, you do this at a closing, if there was a $500,000 mortgage that between the buyer and the seller, that the mortgage guy came in with a briefcase and actually shoved the cash across the table at the escrow and it wasn't just wired. People could really taste and feel the money. They would realize this mortgage guy really just did something for me, because it's easy to find your dream home. Financing your dream home, as you know, is really challenging. So I've always found that the mortgage industry is the unsung hero. Without the money, you can't get the house. So what's the point in looking for the house? But they give you the advice. They talk about helping you build equity, tax advantages, getting the right programs. Without the money, you can't even buy the house. So I feel like it's the most unsung hero, the last to be thanked, and honestly the most underpaid now, because as you know, the industry's really shifted and they've squeezed the margins. But I have a huge heart for the mortgage industry, which correlates directly to the real estate industry, which for us in media correlates directly into the idea of storytelling around not only why are these industries so important, but what is the essence of these industries? It's helping accomplish the American dream of homeownership, a place you're going to build memories and communities and raise your family. And then complementary to that, build wealth, financial stability, tax advantages. You put all that together, you need food, you need water, you need shelter. Like, it is such an important component of livelihoods individually for us and our families, but as communities and building what I believe is the American dream. I think owning a home is a really cool thing, but all the stuff around it, the location, the lifestyle, why do people love it? What's the difference between these markets? It's where those two worlds have all kind of come together for us to build a media model and shows in the niche of real estate and mortgage. And I guess that's a long-winded way of saying how we got here.
Well, I love where you've come. And you know what, Craig? I'm really grateful that it started through mortgages. Yes, because without your passion for that, you wouldn't have broken through a lens that hadn't been broken through. You're the first one ever to bring a show to national TV through the eyes of a lender. Nobody's ever done it before. Your passion
I don't think people realize how exciting of a business it is. It is encompasses the entrepreneurial spirit. You eat what you kill. Like, there is no easy path in this thing, especially now. I mean, you see movies like, The Big Short and some of these other movies that make it look a certain way. Those days are so long gone. The professionals like you and the people that Scott, that are part of what we do, these are entrepreneurial, hardworking, coachable students of the game. It's really a fascinating space that doesn't get the glory the way that it should, but it's a big part of what we do, and it's a big part of what this country does. Like, you need a mortgage, you need financing, use other people's money. It's important.
And they never taught us growing up in school how it all works. No, we only played the game Monopoly. We know how that works. And who wins is the one who did the houses, right? So don't forget, get out of your rental. Get into a house. We all played. Yeah. But you ready for this? So Craig, please. So I love it. When you're the entrepreneur and you keep creating new ideas when the other ones weren't behaving, and you're constantly pioneering and recreating, I think it's easy to take your own personal journey as familiar. But I'm going to back up a little bit. So please, did y'all hear the same thing I did that Craig said? And I want to explore that a minute together. Craig, I think that's spectacular. Here's what I heard, and I already know, but I don't know all of it. And I think it matters to a lot of us listening, because I think a lot of us in life have dreams, and we take on the dream forward, like in real estate or anybody who's in a service business. But let's speak on real estate, rather financing or selling of it. Often many of us earn income when we close a transaction, and without a closing of a transaction, there's nothing been earned. So it's a really challenging way to show up in life with that bright smile every day, even when things might not be working. So allow me. So you heard Craig say his young self back home started mortgages. And then the company Benchmark wanted to open up a mortgage company down in San Diego area, down in Southern California. And then Craig became a net branch. But did you hear about that time zone that all happened, everybody? It was during the boom boom. And what's the word for boom boom? Look at the goose pimples back. It meant it was wickedly competitive. It meant there was an overabundance of people designed to serve folks that wanted help relating to real estate. And if you were brand new to market, how do you break through the noise and being a new brand from out of area? And did you hear the same thing Craig shared with us just a second ago? Not only did Craig become a net branch in San Diego, one of America's very beautiful competitive cities, but he became the number one. So can we explore that? Because look at the goose pimples. Why? Because I think a lot of us, Craig, that step in the industry, whatever we're doing in life, we want to be fantastic at it. You just so happen to step into one of the most competitive spaces, and then you move to a state in a city that had a lot of already pre-existing penetration of market experts, and you broke through the noise in a very delicious way. Can I hear, please, and would you be willing to share, how did you break through? How did you get comfortable with everything new? Because it's got to be scary, I guess. I don't know if scary is the right word. Let me find a better one. You said earlier, not everybody's comfortable with change. And you can't move from one state to another without change. You can't go from production to real estate mortgage lending without change. You find a way to show up inside of change itself. Craig, can you share with our listeners, please, so they might find themselves in a story relatable to how you found footing so strong?
Well, I think embracing change is critically important. It's here whether you like it or not, and especially now. I mean, if we want to really, it's fun to share our story, but what does that really do for your audience? So I appreciate we got to bring it to a place where you can understand, you can apply it to what you're going through. So I think in today's world, you really do have to embrace change because it's coming. But I think it's also the greatest equalizer right now. This thing, AI, that is rearing its head, everybody's trying to figure this thing out. And if you really become a student of it and understand how this could apply to you on a personal level, maybe on a professional level, I think you have an opportunity to really excel here. And I don't even know how. The threats of AI are tangible. I can feel them, and it triggers a little bit of a fight or flight mode, and the opportunities are a little bit ambiguous, but that's the beauty of it. That is the entrepreneurial spirit, is wanting to learn new things and to, as it goes to my story, you're asking me how I did it. I might have just been a little naive, Scott, to be honest with you. I didn't know any better. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to be successful in San Diego. Here's a Missouri guy, and our business at that time was all refinance. I needed to get into a purchase-centric business. For those of you, whether you're in mortgage or not, that means I needed to get in the relationship game. Like, I needed to build relationships. Well, nobody knew me. Like, how do you build a business in a market that nobody knows you, that not only is already competitive, but you're, this nobody from Missouri? And that's honestly where media came in. And so I think the key ingredient here for your audience is a key word, is relationships. And I learned relationships from my dad. My dad owned a cafeteria in St. Louis, Missouri. And just like me, if you can't tell, I am white. So is my dad. But he had this cafeteria with his brothers in an African-American neighborhood in the depths of St. Louis. I mean, most of his customers and his staff were African-American. And what would happen is my mom would take me into, it was called the Salad Bowl. And she would take me there once every summer to go to a Cardinal game, baseball. And my dad could have put me in his back office and waited for him to finish up and go to the game. But instead, what he would do is he would put me in line with his customers. And I would go down the line and order from the cafeteria menu and go all the way down. And then I would pay Millie at the end. Millie was the cashier. She worked there for 50 years. 50 years this woman worked at this salad bowl. And they didn't even serve salad, which is the funniest part. I'll come back to that. And then while my dad was finishing up work, I would go sit with his customers. They were all eating. And here I'm just a little kid in a community that I didn't really know very well. And I'd sit and have lunch with his customers. And I got to know great people. And, I didn't even know what was going on at the time. I just wanted to go to a baseball game. But, you get older and you reflect on why you are the way you are and your parents and all these lessons that we've learned. And what I realized is my dad, without saying it, was teaching me about relationships. And what I, again, began to learn as I got older is he didn't just do that with me. That's how he ate dinner every single day and lunch. He never ate alone. He always ate with his customers. And when I bring that and I fast forward, everything's a relationship game. Everything's a relationship game. Yeah, there's new technology and social media. Well, what is social media? It's relationships at scale, right? Like back in the day, the Salad Bowl days, the way that they grew their clients is people talked about it. There was no Yelp. There was no social medias. Did the guy who ate there tell his neighbor that he ate there and he liked it? Well, then the big retailers came in and they put the mom and pops out of business. And then what happened? The internet came along and they put the big retailers out of business. And the Amazons, which was a bookstore, they didn't have a bookstore. And then now this thing called social media. Well, just like the Salad Bowl, your story matters now more than ever. Except back then it was, what is your neighborhood going to say about your story? Now your neighborhood is this big online connected world of social. So it's like we've come full circle to where your story really matters. And relationships still matter. But in a social world, these are relationships at scale. And so for us, back to the media thing and answering your question, it was never, hey, how can I get on this radio show and tell people how great we are at mortgage and real estate and things like that? We leveraged it relationally. I treated it just like the line at the cafeteria. We invited people in. We sat with them. We did a show. We did the same thing I'm doing with you, except in AM radio days. They came into a studio at 7 in the morning when nobody was listening, but we built real relationships. And because of that, hey, we liked each other. Hey, I should try you on my next client. We should do business together. We should break bread together. So we accidentally created a blue ocean strategy for marketing. Like, we did something different. We were in the content game and we were in the relationship game, and that ended up being really good for business. And I don't think that's changed. I think this day and age, if you're an entrepreneur, you need both. You need the new stuff, right? You need to understand where the world is going and the new technologies and AI now and social. But you need the old school stuff too. You need to be good at relationships. You need to meet people, grab a coffee, grab a lunch, grab a dinner, grab a happy hour. Relationships now are more important than ever. And even in this AI world where everything's going to be so tech, I'm doubling down on human beings. And so as much as we can talk about media and shows and things like that, it was always about the relationships. And that's what created the opportunities and the growth along the way. But at the center of it all was relationships. That was it.
I love it. And it is at the center of it all, and it continues to be. And please, Craig, what I love, for those of you who heard, there was so much to unpack in that. And so Craig literally started a radio station in San Diego. He did it on AM at a time that who knew who was listening?
Nobody.
But it didn't matter. Why didn't it matter? I think one of the hardest things for most of us who work in a service form of industry is to get to the hello event. Hello is the beginning to everything that happens afterwards, but nothing's invited for the afterwards if we cannot achieve the hello first. It's probably one of the hardest things to grab at. Look at the goose pimples are back. Why? Because when you have a radio spot, and you offer to share your spot and give the spotlight to highlight somebody's story, you're giving a stage of opportunity. And what I've discovered in life, and what Craig is proof of, is that when you do that and you unlock the positive stories that live in communities, and you have your guests be the real hero of stories, sharing what makes their vision so valuable, you become significant. And Craig became wickedly significant and sold Synergy One. It was at the brand, Craig, is Synergy. It was
to Mutual of Omaha in 2000.
Mutual of Omaha bought it. And why? Because it became, look at the pimples, because it became significant. Why? Well, because people knew it existed. How? Because Craig used the power of media, and it didn't necessarily matter that they weren't up at the time that it was recorded. What mattered is there was an opportunity to start hello. And as Craig has said out loud, and may I please, Craig, I think the AI future is moving so wickedly fast. It's smarter every minute next, and it doesn't forget. And so it just gets everybody's different visions and ideas under one. And what I love about you is that you're constantly inviting people to show up by creating a path for them to be heard as the beautiful selves they are. You do it through media, Craig. And I think that's the it. I believe for anybody who's giving in life a form of service, you're the brand. But how can anybody know you in a local market or even a national market if they don't know who your brand is? And media is a platform to let people know who you are. But I recommend it's your authentic self. Is what I love about who you are, Craig. You constantly invite those that are on the network to find a space to be authentic on the network. In fact, that is the authenticity that we live life through that invites opportunity. So Craig, please, thank you for bringing up the topic of AI, and thank you for creating such a powerful media space so brands can be branded and we can be heard through the noise. What would you recommend for our listeners now, Craig, for those that are in a form of service, whether it's a CPA, a real estate professional, insurance, sales, mortgage, somebody that offers service that might eventually find that the technology can answer the questions? How do we make sure that we're always relevant? What tools should we be focusing on right now today to get in front, Craig?
Well, the thing is that technology can never replace you. There's only one you. And at the end of the day, I think humans want humans to win. So what you have to realize when you're seeing these advancements in tech, well, tech has always been advancing. The tractor didn't put the farmer out of business, it enhanced the farmer. So you have to look at AI the same way. How will this enhance me as a human? And look, it's going to hurt some industries, but it's also going to empower a lot of people. I wish this was a line I had come up with because I like it so much. It's from Gary Vaynerchuk. He said it's a technological tidal wave. You're either going to surf it or you're going to drown, but it's here no matter what. So I think the first thing you have to do is embrace the change. It's happening. Lean into the change and realize that technology is never going to replace the human, but it can certainly enhance. It can make you more effective. So if I'm you, I just dive headfirst into this AI thing because it's coming for you. It just is. I mean, the ability to, I'll give you an example. I had a lease that I was reviewing. I don't have time to review a lease. I have a friend that's an attorney. I sent him this lease agreement, took him a week. He's a friend of mine, charged me $1,000. I took that same lease, uploaded ChatGPT, and within minutes I had a better analysis for free. That's crazy. Now that might scare an attorney or have an attorney. See, what you can't do is be defensive about it. This is a friend of mine. He's like, oh, it will never. Yes, it will. So the question is, how are you going to use it to enhance you as a human, to help you to be more efficient with the things that you're doing? My advice to anyone is just dive in head first. Learn as much as you can. Listen to podcasts. Watch YouTube videos. Look, I'm the CEO of a media company. I better be diving into it. I'm doing a course with Stanford right now. For being a college dropout, who would have thought at 45 years old, I'm going back to school. But you know what it's doing? It's helping me to think different. And I'll say this again. I said it earlier, but this is really important. This is a personal, what I'm going through. It poses a threat, right, for what we do. We do media, we do video, we do social. AI is going to be able to do a lot of that. Who knows what's going to do the mortgage and real estate industry? So that threat it feels very tangible. So even though I don't intentionally want this to happen, my fight or flight's triggered all the time right now. What if this? What if that? Well, let that motivate you. Let that excite you. And then also, the harder part about it is like, well, what is the opportunity? Like you just asked me a question. I don't even really have an answer. I don't say, well, you should go do this. All I'm saying is you should learn it and be eyes wide open. So that means the opportunity for any industry is probably a little ambiguous. Like, what is it? What would it be if I was in mortgage? I don't know. It might be able to do an entire mortgage for a mortgage professional. So then if I'm you, Scott, or if I'm a mortgage professional, I'm thinking, how can I be the best advisor? How can I meet more people to give advice? Because AI is not going to replace real advice, like tangible advice. Now, I'll give you some programs and things like that. So you've got to be motivated by the fear side of it, but you got to let fear go because that's not going to get you anywhere. And then explore, what are the potential opportunities in my industry? How could this elevate my time? How could this save me time? How could this take away all the BS that I don't like doing to help elevate me in the ways I do? I'll give you an example. So at American Dream Media, we have editors. Editors are artists. They take all this footage and they put it into programs and they download and they cut fat and they try and artistically, they spend hours downloading it. And what I've told our editors, I'm like, imagine if all the stuff you don't enjoy doing, the download and the laying it out, it did it for you. And then you could focus your energy on the artistic part of what you do. Or for Scott and other professionals that you just listed out, the consulting part of what you do, or the meetings that you enjoy doing, or the coffee appointments you go on with other professionals. At the end of the day, humans want humans to win. So I'm doubling down on the human being. But you cannot ignore this thing called AI. Learn it, embrace it, get good at it, and the opportunities will present themselves, I promise. I just don't know exactly what they are, but be a student of this game.
Oh, I love that. That student mind gets us forward in life much easier than the know-it-all mind does. And with this, what do we know? It's everything new. We know nothing.
What an equalizer. Like things are going well. let's smack you on your ass. Things just changed. Like I'm telling you, Scott, for me, I'm the CEO and creator of American Dream Media. I do way better than I ever should have. My parents still live in the house I was raised in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm the last guy who wants change. Like, it's going well. We're growing. We're getting Emmy nominations. The business is growing. The network's growing. It's been amazing. And all of a sudden, it's like, let's just pull the rug from underneath you and now figure that out. You're screwed because VO can do a video. It's like, okay, well, I better figure that one out. And I am so excited. I had a conversation this weekend with my wife. I said to her, I'll tell two things. On May 25th, I was sitting in bed with her and I looked at her and I go, I want you to remember this moment. I go, it is May 25th, 2025. And I just want you to know this world is changing in ways we've never seen before. I'm telling you, embrace, put on your seatbelt, babe, this is about to get crazy. And she's like, how do you think? I go, the financial system's changing. Bitcoin isn't just this cute little thing. XRP isn't this cute little thing. Ethereum, our digital currency is going to change. Our financial systems are changing. AI is replacing people like that. And it's moving so fast. Like just when you think you figured it out, it's like, oh, well, there's something different now. So I said that to her. And then I said to her this weekend, I just said, man, we are in such a fascinating time. It is such a, guys, anyone listening to this podcast right now, let's pause for a moment. We are going to have a remember when of this time. I'm 45 years old. Mowing lawns and shoveling snow for baseball cards. I've always been, lemonade stands, entrepreneur, but really, got into my career at age 2021. So half my life, entrepreneurial spirit, learning, failing, all of it. And we've been through a lot, Scott, haven't we?
Oh, 100%.
You remember 2008, Scotty?
Yeah, 100%.
Remember that thing called COVID? Oh, okay. All these things we go through, all of that has prepared us for today. And today is fascinating. It's challenging. And if you're like, gosh, I'm 20-something years old. I didn't go through that market crash, and I just got in my career. Let your naivety be your strength. This is the ultimate equalizer. This is the ultimate Control-Alt-Delete, what you thought you knew, you don't. Take your experiences in life, take your ambitions, and just really be eyes wide open, 10 and 2, pushing on the gas. And the next year or two, you are going to see the biggest change of winners and losers. And I don't like the word loser, but you know what I mean. It's really
100%.
Some are going to get beat up really bad by this, and I pray for them. I wish them the best. Oh, but man, some are going to figure it out. And I want to make sure I'm one of those people. And I don't have it figured out. I don't.
Well, some of it you do. I told you, everybody. Didn't I say we hadn't even started yet? And I said, this is the one. You're going to go back and listen to a lot of the little nuggets that were here. Here's one that I heard. I know of an antidote. Look at that. Craig gave it to us. It's his antidote. Here it is. Be your authentic self. Go be the media person for your community. Go be your voice, be your brand. People connect to people, Craig said, and that the people business is the future. Technology will do the other parts that we don't enjoy doing, but it's hard to be the people if we don't put the people out in front for other people to see us. And so I knew it was so important for all of us to hear from Craig. Why? Because Craig's created a platform that truly brings out people's authentic passions and shares that with local and national communities throughout America. It's people connecting with people that is the antidote.
You're the best test case for what we're talking about. You, specifically you. Scott, if I told you you didn't have to do a 1003 loan application anymore, it was just going to be handled for you, and you'd even have to have an assistant or a junior loan officer do it, so that you could do what? Do a podcast and educate people at scale so you can post more, you can have more coffee meetings with people. Like, the human being is going to be elevated in all of this, not diminished. You're going to get rid of the things you don't enjoy doing. And that's where the metaphor of grab your surfboard and surf this thing because you can drown in it. And there's going to be a lot of entities that want to put people out of business. Quicken Loans, who does 1 in 6 mortgages, who bought Redfin, who bought Mr. Cooper, they're not doing it to be kind to the professionals. Like, they're investing in AI. They want to transactionalize the business. Well, we cannot be transactionalized. We're human beings. We want relationships. We'll never cheer for a soccer team that's a bunch of robots running around on a field kicking a ball because we like the emotion. We like failure and loss, and we like to feel things. Or as Scott said 3 times now, we like goose pimples, for God's sake.
Yes.
We want to feel, and tech is never going to be able to make us feel. And whether you're buying a house, taking on a mortgage, doing a financial plan, the human element will probably become even stronger in all of this. But don't be the one who got, an old dog who couldn't learn new tricks. So if you are a little bit older, you've been around the game, look, you have the experience to parlay that into the future. If you're on the opposite end of it and you're young and you're like, I don't even know what 2008 felt like, great. Let your naivety be the thing that propels you. It doesn't matter who you are. We have the greatest equalizer here. And I'm telling you, this is going to be the most fascinating time, I think, of our lives, at least to date. I mean, who knows what will happen in the future. But for now, I'm just like, man, what a time to be alive. It's scary, admittedly, but we can get past that. We can think bigger, and we can think, well, this is a time. This is a time to innovate. This is a time to be the best version of myself and be a leader.
And Craig, for those listening to us right now, for those who are not, let's say that those in the service business, because I think some of the service industries, like you just said, Scott, I was able to upload the document into the chat and it gave me a summary that was even more detailed. And I didn't wait a week. I just barely a moment, and it was free. So with that said, everybody, you're hearing the same things I'm hearing, aren't you? It's time for us to be authentically available for the audience that's out there willing to meet us. And it's hard to be met when we're not exposing ourselves. And I think for many of us, and Craig, you've mentioned this before in previous great presentations, that I think one of the number 1 or the number 2 fears that we carry in life is getting in front of the camera, getting in front of a public audience and speaking publicly. So I think a lot of us just stay away from it. And I don't think this is the time to stay away. I think it's the time for the world and your market to know you
I can help
and your
with that.
brand.
Yeah. It's God put you on this planet for a reason. And look, I own a media company that's 1,200 real estate professionals. You don't think many of them don't like seeing themselves on camera or are introverted? You got to get out of your head and you got to get into your heart. Like, your head is going to talk you out of so many things. It gets back to that fight or flight thing. For some reason, our minds are wired to fear public speaking, fear putting ourselves out there, fear failure, fear being told no. Well, that's because we're thinking about it. Get out of your head, get into your heart. Scott is doing this podcast because he wants to add value to others, right? So if you come from a place that I want to add value, I want to lift others up, whether it's my guest on my program or my audience that's listening to it, and I get out of my head and questioning everything about me, and I get into my heart and I get sincere and I get authentic, you will find a path to this really being something you enjoy doing, not just I have to do, but I enjoy doing it because you're serving others. And if you operate with that moral compass and from that place, I think you'll be very happy with what it does for you and your business.
That's right. Did you just hear it, everybody? It's just that. Think about what your listener is getting from you speaking. Think about them. Be you, but show up. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And here's my advice for those listening. Don't do it alone. If you're already not comfortable doing something you weren't doing yesterday, might I suggest you to find somebody who's more comfortable, somebody that's more comfortable holding up the iPhone or a phone for you, a camera, something so that you can just speak. You know what I've learned, So funny, isn't it? You know, if I were just to call you professional you and ask you about professional questions of whatever you're doing, you could go on for 20 minutes to tell me about it. But the second that camera comes, oh my God, you need a script. You don't know what to say.
Isn't that a funny thing? Like, what is that about? And by the way, I'm the same way.
Me too.
I'm introverted. I hated public speaking. I never thought
I went to Toastmasters.
Yeah, it was just, I thought it was a good opportunity. I saw the light on being able to leverage it relationally, so I got into radio. But it's not because I was a radio host or I'm some gifted speaker. None of those things. Hated it. When I was growing up, I used to blush so hard, Scott, that in high school they called it Craig Red. Like literally they said that I was my own version of a color of red. I was traumatized at public speaking. But you're right. It's funny. I wonder where that wiring comes from. But look, here's the deal. Growth comes from discomfort. I wasn't comfortable being in media, but I got better and I got better and I got more and more comfortable. Scott, you've had that same experience.
100%.
I'm sure many have. So if you're on the I'm not comfortable side of it, you're not comfortable yet. Growth comes from discomfort. You don't get in shape because you have gym memberships. You go to the gym. And what happens when you go to the gym? It sucks. Right? I did hot yoga this morning with weights, yoga sculpt, and I was ready to puke. And the girl right next to me is not even breaking a sweat. I'm like, all right, this is hard. But you know what happened after that yoga session? I felt like $1 million. I broke a sweat. It was really hard, but it was tough when I was doing it. So you got to force, we talked about change on this call. Maybe you got to force some change onto yourself.
I would. I think now's the time to do it. If people don't adopt it now, then when? And since now has AI behind you and it's going to do a lot of things that invite you to be smarter on how you're showing up. I love that you brought up that topic today. And I love that you represent media and platforms for people to be found on. And not only do you do that, Craig, for those listening to us right now, Craig's also an incredible author, American Dream 2.0, an incredible book full of inspiration. You're going to love it when you read it. Of course, you can get it on Amazon. And that's not just a plug. That's to inspire you to grab a book written from the heart of the man you're meeting today, Craig Sewing, the man who's created a platform out of frickin', I don't mean to say frickin', but frickin' nothing at all, just a dream, a vision, and how to get through all of the things that said this isn't going to work right now. It's not going to work right now. And guess what, folks? It's working right now. He's become a media conglomerate. American Dream TV, literally, you ready for this? Not only is it now on HGTV, the Travel Channel, I shared with you earlier, Bloomberg TV, CNBC, NBC, Fox Networks. May I please? How about some Amazon out there for you streamers? How about YouTube Movie and TV? How about Roku? How about Apple TV? Literally look at their back. Everywhere there's electricity and internet, you're going to find a dreamer that dreamed that others have a chance to be heard, that there's positive stories about community, lifestyle, and real estate. It just needed a platform to be built so the stories could be heard through them. Craig, thank you for...
Cool? You know what's so cool, Scott?
Tell me,
everyone who's listening can literally do it too. If you have an iPhone, it creates very high quality video. If you have apps, it could probably edit those videos for you. And if you have social media, everything I just said is free. So you have a story. What is it? Share it. Put it out there. Make it about others. Get out of your head. Get into your heart. Add value to your community. Get consistent about it. You can do everything that I've done, but you can do it today. You don't need a company and a studio and editors and everything we've created, all these networks. You have your own network. You have your own sphere, and your sphere can grow. I would just really plug into what you can do today because it's all free.
All free. It's true. And as we close out, isn't that true? Craig, I love it. Growing up the way I did, I'm a bit older, and we only had 3 network channels to tune into, and then cable, and then satellite, and then all these other channels, and you can stream everything. How do you know who's going to see us if we're going to produce a product? Do you know what I love about today and what Craig just said, what you just said, Craig, is that there are networks that you can distribute media for free. And it's the channel channel. We're all tuned into Instagram, Meta, TikTok, wherever our tuned in platforms. We're back to 4 networks again, and they're called social. And it's a great thing for you who's listening right now to dig deeper into. Find your voice, allow others to hear your voice. Whatever your love is in life, let those others find you. Well, that sure was amazing. And Craig is such an incredibly busy guy. We got pulled out of our podcast at the very end. Well, before we were able to say goodbye to you. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as we sure enjoyed getting to visit together and sharing it with you. We'd love it if you took the time to subscribe to Believe Boulder and to share it with your friends. And if you got a moment to leave a 5-star review, well, then you're inviting others to hear and learn about us also. We sure would love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait to visit with you on our next episode next week. We'll see you Friday. Bye.